So when you are doing the survey drawing, just make sure you're using the template that I give you guys on Blackboard. Under that template, I already set the unit. The unit is already set, and also the list of the layer that it's needed for this drawing, it's already given to you guys. So you will be assigning it to your drawing. Also, I did give you guys some block that you will be inserting it into your drawing later or so. So just quickly, I'm going over the unit with you guys. So again, I did change it to the length type to decimal because we are working with matrix scale. Precision, it's 2 decimal places. Insertion scale, it's in meters. Angle type, it's survey unit. Precision, I set it to north 0 degrees east. So under these options, you have all those options that you can change it to anything you wanted to do it. But for this drawing, I set it according to the drawing needs. So again, I try not to do any changes uh, on the unit. And also the annotation scale, it's already set. The title block, it is given to you guys. You will be inserting your drawing inside that title block and setting the scale according to what it says. So when you're starting this drawing, just make sure you're using line command to draw the property line. Looking back to that PDF file that I gave you guys on Blackboard, so again, the length for those property lines are given, and also the survey unit it's given as well. So when you're doing your drawing, you can start it from the low left corner. So you can just start it with the property line. Make sure you do turn off the ortho, and then under the window command, make sure you are typing the survey unit. So when you are typing the survey unit, so just make sure you are putting the angle. So if you do look at the drawing that I give you guys, the PDF file on Blackboard, so it says 15 degrees, so there is no such degree sign on the keyboard, so just make sure you're typing D for degrees. 15, it says 15 degrees, 57 minute, 00 second west. So just make sure you are using the feet and inch sign for minute and second. Press enter. Once you press enter, so it will take it basically to that angle that you're trying to draw your line to. So I'll just repeat it again. So just make sure you're putting the angle. N stands for north, 15 D for degrees. It's 57 minute 00 second west. Enter. So once you enter, you will see that your line is basically going in that direction, the survey unit that you enter. So make sure you're moving your cursor to the direction that you're trying to draw your line, and then type in the full length of that line. It is given 57.18. So 57.18, that's given in meter. Try not to put any suffix with your number. Just type in the full length, which is 57.18. Press enter. Once you press enter, it will end at that 57.18 meter. Same thing when you're doing the next line, so just make sure you're putting the survey unit, which is angle. For the next line, it is north again, 73 degrees. So just make sure you are typing D for degrees. It says 59 minute 30 second east. Enter. So once you enter, basically your line it's going in that direction. So make sure you're moving your cursor in that direction that you're trying to draw your line to, and then type in the full length of that line, which is showing on that drawing. It is 8.53. Enter. Same thing with the next line. So you will be make sure you're typing it under the window unit, so that way you should be able to see if you're typing it correctly or not. Same, I'm repeating again. Make sure you're putting the angle. Then it says north. Make sure you're putting N for north. 15 D for degrees, 57 minute. For minute and second, I did told you guys to use the same key that you used to use for feet and inches. For minute, it's feet sign, and then for second, it's the inch sign that you used to use. And then also the direction, again, it is showing west. Press enter. Once you press enter, move your cursor in that direction. So again, your cursor is basically going in that direction that you enter the survey unit, and then type in the full length. So again, the full length for that line, it's showing 57.18. Enter. For the next one line, you can just simply bring it and close it up here, or you do have the option to type in the survey units. Again, it's just a good practice for you guys to do. I would recommend you guys to type in that survey unit. It's north 73 degrees, D for degrees, 59 minute 30 second east. Enter. So once you move your cursor, so basically if you look at that campus there, so again, northwest, southeast. So again, make sure you're moving your cursor in the direction that you're trying to draw your line to, and then type in the total length, which is 8.53. Enter. So once you enter it, make sure you're selecting all these three lines. You can simply copy it and place it for the next property line that it's sharing between lot 114 and 113. So you don't have to do it because the survey unit and also the land for those property line, it's the same. So you can simply, to make your life easier, you can just simply copy it and then place it there. And then as you see on the drawing, this line here, the property line is slightly extended above that this line here. So you can simply select it and then extend it manually. You can stretch it. Or another option, I'll show you guys, you can simply draw a line right above there, just a random line, and then you can use the extend command. So the extend command, it's located under the trim command. So you can select extend and then try to extend these lines. Same thing, you can do it for this side here. You can draw that line and then use the extend command to extend it. So again, once you extend it, you can simply delete that, and you have to stretch it on the side as well. So you can simply stretch it. Just make sure you're not changing the angle, you're just selecting it and stretching it. So I did show you guys the two options that you can do. Same thing applies with these line here, so just make sure you're stretching that as well. So there's no specific length to it that I didn't give you any length to how far you will be stretching it. So you can simply draw a line across, and then what you can do, you can just use the extend command to extend those lines on the side. So just make sure you're extending those as well. Same thing applies with this line again. Try not to change the angle or so just make sure you're stretching it to the side. So again, without changing the angle. And you can simply delete that reference line if you did draw a reference line just to extend. So the next thing I'll be showing you how to draw those line that it's showing for the concrete sidewalk. So again, if you do look at it, the PDF file, so from this side, it is showing the offset distance to 1.2, and on this side here, it's showing 1.45. So same thing, you will be using the offset command. So again, offsetting that line to a distance of 1.2. And then using again offset and when it's asking you to specify the offset distance, so just make sure you're typing 1.45. So those dimensions are given to you guys on that PDF file. So just make sure you're following it. And then once you drawing that curb concrete curb sidewalk line, so just make sure you're using line specifying the first point and then the end point of that 1.45 line that you just offset. You can zoom it up more and then make sure you're deleting those two short lines that you offset. So just make sure you're deleting those lines. So that's for the concrete sidewalk line, and the concrete sidewalk width, it is showing 1.2 meters. So you will be using the offset command to offset the line that you just draw to 1.2. So you'll be offsetting that 1.2, and then also you will be using offset command to show the street line. So the street line, it's offset from that second line, it's 3.25. So just make sure you're 3.32. So you will be offsetting that. And then make sure you're stretching these lines again. You can just simply stretch it because it's a concrete sidewalk curb. So again, and then also the street line, you will be stretching that without changing the angle or so. So just make sure you're stretching that. Or if you want, you can just simply draw that line and then without changing the angle, you can just use the extend command to extend it. You can shorten these lines to make it look exactly to what it is showing on the, you can do that. Make sure you're turning off the object snap when you're doing that, because it might not let you guys to do that. Same thing applies with this one. You can just shorten it up by selecting it, and then without changing, you can shrink it. So now you will be assigning it under the layers. So again, just make sure for the sidewalk line, you will be assigning it under the layer. It is called A-site curb. And then also for the property line and also for the street line, you will be assigning it under the layer called A-site property. So just make sure you're selecting all those lines and assigning it under the layer called A-site. So once you assign those line, you will see those lines will turn into a dash dotted line for the property line and also for the street. The next thing, you will be inserting those points, the elevation grade points for all the property lines that it's showing on the drawing. So again, by typing I enter, make sure you're inserting the elevation PT. So that's the elevation point mark that I give you guys as a block, so you don't have to create it. You will be inserting it, and then we can place it later to the correct place or so. And then the next block that you needed for this drawing, it's the 3. And there are 2 north arrows given on that template. So just make sure you're using the one it's called north to use. So these are basically the 3 blocks that you needed for this drawing. When you're placing those marks, so looking at the PDF file, so just make sure you're moving it close to what you see on that PDF files. Again, just make sure it's the edges for those marks are basically touching that property line there. So again, you can use move command to move it and adjust it right on those lines there. If it is not letting you to move to any specific points or so turn off the object snap. And also the spacing between the point. If you do look at the PDF file that I give you guys on Blackboard, so on the side of that drawing, there's a note that it's given to you guys. So again, the note says grade elevations are spaced at either 3.05 or 6.10. So the note that's already provided to you guys, so you guys do know the spacing between the grade points or the elevation grading. So again, it is space 3.05. So if you see that the grade elevation point is close to each other, so you're using the offset of 3.05. If it is far, then it is 6.10. So once we place the first grade elevation on this drawing here, so just make sure you're using line command. Just make sure your object snap has to be on. From the midpoint of that, make sure you're drawing a horizontal line. You can turn on your ortho to make it like exactly straight line. So your line shouldn't go in an angle or so. So just make sure you're drawing. That's just a reference line to get the rest of the snap points for those elevation mark. So once you do that, the next thing, make sure you're using offset. If you do look at the PDF file that I gave you guys, so the first two elevation point on that property line, it is closer than the rest of them. So make sure you are using the distance 3.05 based on the note that is provided to you guys on that PDF file. So using the offset command for the distance, it is 3.05. So for the first two points, you're using 3.05. And for the remaining, you see that it's slightly bigger than the first two. So it is 6.10. Make sure you're using offset command, offsetting it 6.10 all the way up. So once you get that, the next thing I want you, before we add all those points on the drawing, so you can just do the numbers, the elevation height. So that's given to you guys on that PDF file. So for the first one, it says 101.98. So again, you have the two options. So again, you can do it under 0 layer, and then you can change that, assign it under the proper layer. So I'll go ahead with assigning the current layer under A-site sleeve. So this is the layers that you will be using for those text. And then using text. So it's asking you to specify the start point. So again, I'm just making it close to what I see on that PDF file. And then it's asking for the rotation angle. We can rotate it if we need to by using the rotate command. So the number, it says 101.98. You can bring it close to the mark. you can turn off the object snap if it's not letting you to move it to any specific points or so. So you can do that. And now make sure you're selecting the text and also the mark. Use the copy command to copy it. Make sure the object snap has to be on. So you're copying it from the base. For the base point, make sure you're using the midpoint of that mark, and then place it right on the line, the property line, and the line that I just created for the spacing between the elevation, the intervals. Just make sure you're selecting that intersecting points when you're doing that. Once you do that, you can select all these marks because you don't want it to show it right on the property line, so we have to move it slightly away from that property line on the right side of that property line. So you can just make a window selection, or you can select them individually. Once you select all the points, then you can use the move command. Just make sure you're using move, and then you can make sure you do turn off your object snap because it will not let you to move to any specific points. I'm just making it close to the edge of that. The mark has to be close to the edge of that property line. So just make sure you're placing it right there. Once you do that, then you can change these number by double clicking on the number. Just make sure you're referring to the PDF file that I give you guys on Blackboard. So the next elevation height, it is given 102.59. So you have to do for the rest of those numbers, just make sure you're changing it before you copy it and place it for the next property lines there. So you have to change it first and then do it, because you don't have to do it like 2 times for each or 3 times for each numbers or so. So just make sure then you can make a window selection, select, and then you can hold the shift key and try to deselect those lines. So you can select all these. You can make a window selection and try to deselect any of the lines from the screen. You can do it that way, or you can just click on each individual points and the numbers. Once you see that you selected all, before you selecting it, I did told you guys to change those numbers. And then once you select everything, just make sure you're using the copy command to copy it and then place it. So when you're copying it, so the easy way to copy any object, just make sure you're, for the base point, you're selecting the base point. That will make it easier for you guys to place it for the next point or so. So for this one here, I'm just using this line that it's the 2 lines that are intersecting with each other. So I'm just clicking right at the intersection point of that line. So I'm using that as a base point. Make sure you do turn off your ortho, and then use the next reference line. So you just place it by left clicking in there. So once you do that, again, if you do look at the other side of that property line, so the side close to the sidewalk, so there's again the elevation grading for that, it's showing as well. So just make sure you're using the same interval that it's provided to you guys on the side of that PDF file. So just make sure you can simply use that line. So and then you can offset that line to 3.05. So using the offset 3.05. and try to offset that line 3.05, and then once you do that, then you can simply place those. So again, you can select these numbers and the elevation point. You can make sure you're changing those numbers, the elevation height. It is different. It's not the same. So just make sure you are changing it. So again, you can copy it and then place it. Just make sure you're not changing. You can turn on your ortho and then place it. So okay. So once you do that, you can just simply copy that point and put it. So again, for the tree, just make sure since you insert it, you can simply copy it and place it according to where it's showing on the drawing. So again, you can just place it close to what you see on the drawing. So there are 3 trees located on each lot there, so just make sure you're placing it close to where you see. Same thing applies with the lot that it's adjacent to this one here, so just so once you do that, then you can simply add those dimension using angular dimension to do that. So you don't have to set the dimension, it's already set on that template. And also to add the text, again, for the larger text where it's showing George Brown Avenue, the name of the street, the layer that you will be using for that, it's A-N-O text. So you do have the option to use the single line text or multi-line text. So if you're using single line text, you can simply specify the start point where you want to place it on your drawing. So just look at the PDF file, just make sure you are placing it close to what you see on that drawing. And then rotation angle, don't worry about it, you can change it later, and then type in the text that you're trying to type, the name of the street. It says George Brown Avenue. So it says George Brown Avenue. So you can press enter. Again, you can select it. Just make sure you can right click, go to property. So under the property tab, you can change the rotation angle or the line type scale factor. It says 1, so that's fine. You can rotate the text using the rotate command, so you can rotate it, and then or you can change the angle under the property, so you have 2 options to do that. So once you do that, once you click it, right click property, so under the property you have the option for the text style. So if you want, you can change it to standard text, that's fine. And then also you can change the text height. So the text height that I used it for this, I changed it to 1. So if you're using standard text, just make sure you're changing the text height to 1. And then you can use the move command to move it and place it because it's overlapping with that number there, so you can do that. And then you can select that same text, copy it, and place it for the lot numbers there. So you can simply change the wording in there. So that says lot 116. You can copy that same text and then place it for lot 115, 114, and then 113. Just make sure you're changing those numbers in there. Try not to keep it the same. So again, it is 115. And then this one here, it says 114. And then the last one, it says 113. Also, the text for the concrete sidewalk curb. So again, the concrete sidewalk text for that, again, you will be using the layer that it's called A-1site text. You can use a single or multi-line text. So you can, if you're using single line text, so again, you have to specify the start point. For the rotation angle, so you can rotate it later. You can type in the text, so it says 1.2 meter. CONC stands for concrete sidewalk. So you can select it, use the rotate command, make sure you're selecting the edge of that text, and then you can rotate it with your mouse. Once you click on the text going to the properties, again, it's under dim site, so that's fine. You can just keep it to that and then slightly move it off that line. Same thing for the note on the side you will be using. You can copy that same text and place it. So again, you can copy that same text and place it on the side of that survey, and just make sure you're putting the note that it's given on that. So you can just put that in there. Also, for the survey unit and also for the text for these property line, the layer that you will be using, it's called A-site property text. Make sure you're using, this time I would recommend you guys to use multi text. So when you're using multi-text, just make sure you're making the window selection where you're starting your text. You can type in your text again. It says north 73 degrees. So the reason I told you guys to use multi-text, because you do have the option for the degree. So you can put 73 degrees, 59 feet. So for minute and second, we are using the same key that we used to use for feet and inches. So 59 minute, 30 second, and the direction is showing east. You can press enter because the length for that line, it is given 8.53. You can select it and then you can simply rotate it, and then you can copy the same text and then place it up here. If you want for these line, same thing, you can use, you do have the option to copy it and then you make sure you're rotating it. Or you can simply draw the text box and then make sure you're putting, it says north 15 degrees, so just make sure you're putting the degree sign with your number, and it says 57 minute 00 west W. And then there's some space in between, and then you can just type in 57.18. Enter it. And then you can simply select it, and then you can use the rotate by selecting right at the edge of the text, and just make sure you're aligning it with that line there, so you can just move it close to the line. So it's the same. And then you can copy that for the rest of these lines here. Just place it close to what you see on the drawing. So just make it closer to that line there. So once you're done with the drawing, so the next thing, bringing it inside that title block. So the title block, again, it is given on that template. So if you do click on the site B size, you will see the title block. It is given. So how do you bring your drawing from the model to the paper? By typing, make sure you're changing the layer to 0, typing MV. So you can make sure you're turning your object snap on. You're using the title block line as a reference. So left clicking on the left side and then bringing it diagonal to the bottom right side, and then click in there. Double click to activate it. Once you see the border line turn into a thicker or bold line, so it means it's selected. You can zoom the drawing. And now we need to twist the drawing. So we don't want it to put it in an angle, so everything has to be in a correct direction view. So how do we change it? Before we change it, so just make sure you're zooming it, centering it along that viewport window that you created, and then make sure you're changing the scale. If you do look at the PDF file, so the scale for this drawing, it's set to 1 to 200. So just make sure you're setting it 1 to 200. You should be able to see everything on the screen. If the north arrow, it's not showing fully, so you have to go back to model space and just make sure you're moving it close to the drawing. Going back here, so now I can see all the lines, all the text, everything in there. Make sure so now we are twisting the drawing, rotating the view. So type DV under the window command. DV stands for the direction view. Press enter. Once you press enter under the window command, you will see the option. It says select object. So if you wanted to select, on a drawing, if you wanted to select any one or two line, you can do that. But since we are doing changing the view for the whole drawing, not just for a few lines, so I'm typing all, ALL, enter. So once you select all, you will see on the screen the change will happen. So all the lines plus the text, the north arrow block, everything is selected. Press enter again. Once you press enter, now you will see the color for your drawing will appear on the screen. Before we used to see everything under black and white, but now you see the color that we assigned those layers to. Now under the window command, it's asking for the direction view. It says camera, target, distance, point, pan, zoom, twist. So since we are twisting it, so just make sure you do have the two options. You can Move your cursor and select that twist from the list, or you can simply type TW. TW stands for the shortcut command for the twist, so TW, enter. So once you type in TW, it will ask you for the twist angle. What angle do you want it to twist your drawing to? Since I already did the calculation, so it is -15, so I'll show you how to do that. But just type in -15, enter. Once you press enter, now you can see everything is twisted to that -15 angle, so all the drawing looks fine. Press enter one more time. Once you press enter, the color for your drawing will change back to black. So again, make sure you're pressing enter. If you don't do it, it will take it back from the scratch. So once you press enter, you see that all these lines are showing black there. So again, you can simply lock your viewport by clicking on the lock symbol at the bottom of the screen. Once you do that, you can zoom it up, and then you can also change these. So the thing I want you guys to change, it's the date that you will be submitting this drawing to me, and the drawn. So under drawn, make sure you're putting your initial, and then the date, depending on what day you will be submitting this drawing. So just make sure you're putting that date on the drawing. So once you do that, just make sure you're saving it. I'll go back and show you guys how I calculated the angle. So again, so for this drawing, I'll just go on this one here. So all I did, so just draw a line, because all the lines are going in an angle. So now we have to find out what angle is it up to. So the actual angle. And then once I draw the horizontal line, you can do it to any of these lines that are going, but I just did it to this one here. So it should give you the same angle. And then going to the dimension. So if you can check the angle. So again, so you can check the dimension angular. So once I do that, it is 15. So in order for me to bring this down to this line here, so it will be not +15, it will be -15. So that's why I enter -15 for that drawing. So this is, you don't have to do this. This is already calculated. I already give you guys the angle for that, so you guys don't have to do it. This is just to show you guys how I come up with that -15. So once you do that, then you can simply save the drawing under the correct format that I told you guys to save it to, and then you will be uploading it on Blackboard.